Welcome to Automotive Insiders. I'm your host, Jason Stein. Great to have you back listening again on this platform. Across the automotive landscape, suppliers are under pressure to operate smarter. They're under pressure to reduce costs, boost productivity, and unlock value inside every plant, process, and program. Yet too often, capital remains stuck inside outdated systems, along with idle capacity and data that can't be acted upon. That's where new technology powered by AI and modern cloud ERP is changing the game. Today, we examine how suppliers can free stranded capital, turn downtime into uptime, and build the flexible, resilient operations required for a software-defined manufacturing future. From predictive maintenance and automated quality control to real-time scenario planning in volatile global markets, the operational advantages are real and increasingly essential. Joining us today is Peter Maithel, Automotive Industry Principal Strategist at Infor, who will share how suppliers can align AI with strategy and culture while capturing critical knowledge from an evolving workforce. Efficiency isn't just a benchmark anymore, it's a competitive edge. From the MEMA annual conference, this is Automotive Insiders. Peter Maithel, it's great to be with you.
Thank you, Jason. Good to be here.
Thank you for being here. You are the Automotive Industry Principal Strategist for Infor.
Yes.
And you're not only serving great coffee behind us here, but you're also going to provide some insights into basically the topic of the day, which is AI-driven efficiency for the modern supplier. Mm-hmm. First, give us your overview of maybe how important this has been for you to be here again, and what the MEMA annual conference means for Infor.
Sure.
Beyond cappuccinos.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. And yeah, it's always great to be here. The supplier community is actually one of our key focus areas at Infor. It's the biggest piece of our automotive business. And so we have a huge footprint, and this is a big part of our customer base here. So,
for sure. We hear a lot about software-defined manufacturing. I was on stage, obviously, with Javier from Rivian this morning talking about software-defined vehicles. What does that look like in real automotive plants, and how close are we to realizing it at maybe a larger scale, Peter?
Sure. So software-defined manufacturing is really, if you want to think of it as the digital twin of manufacturing, and it's really the traditional model of using of a factory which is more like rigid and sort of hardwired, if you will. Software-defined manufacturing takes the concept of a digital twin, building a production facility in a digital form, and then running the simulation, setting it up, running simulations, optimizing it, doing everything digitally before you start implementing it in the physical. That has several advantages, right? So first of all, you can accelerate things significantly by doing them digitally. You can do a lot of scenario modeling. You can you can run things in simulation mode way before you lay down a single brick, right? And so it really accelerates time to market. There's significant benefits in terms of quality, in terms of production scheduling, in terms of workforce, energy management, you name it. All the dimensions that are involved in running an operation can be accelerated and optimized using the digital twin, i.e. a software-defined factory.
And what some people might not know is that there's actually a feedback loop that's created here, right?
Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so without feedback, of course, you've got an open-ended system with no way to sort of self-correct or optimize, if you will, right? So that whole feedback loop is essential, and that's, of course, captured by the sensors and all the instrumentation and automation that's on the floor or in the digital twin, right? But that is the key part of that continuous optimization. That's right. Continuous improvement, yes.
Knowledge, I mean, the knowledge capture tools are preserving an expertise, yes. Right? Yeah. And as the workforce changes, I think that becomes even more critical, doesn't it, Peter?
Yes, so the whole point about the talent, the knowledge, the talent, the workforce, whatever term you want to use, that is actually a major concern for most industry executives across the board, right? Whether it's suppliers or OEMs. And there's a significant gap in terms of talent. I read a recent statistic that as a country, we are producing only about 50% of the engineering talent needed for what we anticipate in the future. That's a major problem, right? And that's one of the reasons why we have to import expertise from overseas, so because we just don't have enough. And then also shop floor talent is another major challenge. So expert systems and the ability to capture as the workforce ages out, the ability to capture the tribal knowledge and all the knowledge that's in the heads of these people before they age out of the workforce so that can be passed on to the next generation, that is critical. And AI-driven systems are very, very central to that whole capability.
Three themes really kind of exist here when you think about what we've been talking about at the annual conference. Tariffs, logistics disruptions, global uncertainty. How are AI and scenario planning changing the way supply chains operate?
Yeah, so of course, I think after COVID, the whole world became aware of this term supply chain, right? Which many people didn't even, I mean, obviously outside of this group. So, yeah, so supply chains, as we well know from this industry, from our lived experience, in the industry, our supply chains are very long, very complex, very fragile, etc. So what AI, and again, using the concept of digital twins and the whole digital capability. What that allows you to do is run simulations, scenario modeling. AI can anticipate, the AI agents, and we've got this thing called agentic AI now, not just Gen AI, but now agentic AI,
of course, yeah.
right? Which can actually act on your behalf. So agentic AI, and we've got it embedded into our systems at Infor. It's really kind of cool because it can look at a whole host of factors, not just, a production schedule or a supplier forecast, but it can look at things like weather patterns. It can look at port traffic patterns. It can look at things that are out there in the world, and it can not just analyze the data, but as an agent, an AI agent can actually make recommendations and greatly sort of enhance the capability of a supply chain planner or supply chain executive to manage the supply chain, to anticipate problems before they occur, to dynamically reroute shipping, to predict where there may be a port blockage or something that's going on and give you the option to reroute. So we've got some examples where customers have had spec changes from their customers, and with our AI agents, it not only just tells them what the impact is and which kind of, okay, so if this spec changes, you're going to need these 3 additional parts, and here's some suppliers that can provide them. And oh, by the way, these suppliers are going to be more impacted by tariffs than this one over here. Would you like to reroute your order from there to this supplier because that will avoid the tariffs, right? So they look at the harmonized tariff schedule and they can do that. So these are the things that our AI agents can do and are doing, and that's very powerful because, as you said, we live in such a world of uncertainty, right? And so this really, we can't remove all the uncertainty, but we can at least find better ways to deal with it.
That actually creates resiliency, right? That you're combining data transparency, you're including agility, and it's not just redundancy.
Yes, resiliency is much more than just redundancy, having an extra thing out there, right? No, it's about the data and it's about the processes that go with that, right? Because if you've got to be able to, resiliency means you've got to have failover capability, right? So you've got to be able to not just have something in place, but you've got to be able to, it's got to be operationally viable so that when you move over to that as a backup, if you will, in that example, it actually can do the job for you, right? So yeah.
Am I right in that there are multiple what-if conditions that are also created?
Yes, there are multiple what-if conditions, and this is where AI can come play a big part. It does play a big part as well, because it can analyze a lot of these what-ifs or scenarios, if you will, and it can optimize them based on, again, as I mentioned, some of these other factors, right? And I want to just take a slight diversion and add something to what we're saying here. So when we look at whether it's supply chain or whether it's the digital factory or any of these things that address the challenges that we as an industry are facing right now, right? So we did a survey of about 400 automotive companies globally. And a couple things came out of that, and I just want to touch on those, if I may. One of those is that 76% of the respondents said that they felt that using automation was going to be key to future success. So that was one piece of it, okay? But here's another thing. When we looked at leaders versus laggards in the industry, OEM, suppliers, everyone, right? 4 things stood out for leaders. One is that they have bulletproof processes, okay, process focus. They have agility and future readiness, so that's the technology using the cloud, using AI, RPA, things like that. They have a culture of data, so they're data driven. And then the 4th one is they're customer obsessed. So these are four things. We call it How Possible Happens. It's a report that we have. But really, when you look at characteristics of leaders, I would definitely put this out there for people to consider. How are you doing on those four parameters? Because that's going to be key, whether you're talking about any aspect of your operations.
Final question, Peter. AI has to fit into a business strategy and a culture.
Yes.
How do you make that shift without overwhelming the organization?
Well, if I had the answer to that, I'd be a very rich man, but I do have some ideas on it, right? Because that is the challenge we all struggle with. And really it comes down to managing change, right? Whether it's AI or back in the day, whether it was ERP or whether it was client server computing, moving away from me, whatever, right? There's a change involved. So I think what we've seen and what's out there is that, first of all, having strong executive sponsorship is important, and having the right change management, because people have to see what's in it for them, right? Not just what's in it for the company, that's great, but what's in it for me personally. And then the key thing that underlies all of this AI conversation that we're having is trust. Because it only takes one breach of trust for the whole thing to fall apart. And whether you're talking about autonomous driving, or whether you're talking about AI in the workplace, or any of these, right? Anytime you bring in automation, the trust factor is going to be essential, right? So that's key.
It's a wild world. One more point on that. Not only do you need trust, you need leadership alignment, you need data quality, workforce engagement. That's how you're going to scale AI, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that, again, without that leadership alignment and that executive vision and aligning to business strategy, AI for its own sake, it's just another thing, right? But it has to align with, there has to be a reason why you're implementing AI, and there has to be a business benefit.
Peter, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts here at the MEMA Original Equipment Suppliers Annual Conference 2025. Great being with you again.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
From the MEMA Annual Conference in Detroit, a big thanks to my guest, Peter Maithel, Automotive Industry Principal Strategist at Infor. And thank you for joining us on this platform. I'm your host, Jason Stein. We'll see you again next time.